everyone, this is Mindy Egan for Lawnfawn, and in today's video, I am going to be pairing this adorable panda from the brand new December 2024 release with some previously released products from my stash. So first I want to show you the products that I am going to be using on my final card project, and that is the Merry Mice stamp set, I Heart Pandas, Frosty Family. I'll be using the Santa hat from this. And then for dies, I have Build a Snow Globe, cute candy canes, small stitched rectangle stackables, and everyday sentiment banners. Now, there are some other ideas that I am going to share with you, and the stamp sets for those are Toboggan Together, Frosty Family add on, and the I Heart Pandas add on. Now, I don't end up using these images, but I do have ideas that I want to share with them. And then for ink that I'm going to be using, I have Merman, Fresh Lavender, Walnut, Noble Fir, Jet Black, and Black Licorice. So I started out by taking some 80-pound white cardstock and I'm placing down a bunch of images. Some of these images are those extra stamp sets that I had shared with you. I had an idea. I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out, so I was just stamping everything out in the Lawn Fawn Jet Black ink. A lot of these images do have a coloring stencil, so you could use that to color in your images, but I am going to do some really simple Copic coloring for this today. I have a C2 marker that I'm using to color in my pandas, and really all I did was outline the white area of the panda with that C2 marker, and then also added a shadow to some of the white areas on the Santa hat. For the red, I am using R24 and R29. So I started in by coloring in the entire Santa hat with the R24. And then on one side of the Santa hat, wherever the side where the pom-pom is where I'm adding the R29. And I'm not blending it out. I'm kind of leaving a distinctive area there to show that shadow. I'm going to use the lightest red out of that, which is the R24, to color in the present and some of the ribbon. Now, I'm not doing any shading on the presents. I am just going to color it with that one color. And then I'm going to come in with some of the other presents with a G03 and just fill that in. Again, I'm not doing any shading on those areas. I'm just going to leave it with the one solid color. So the first one I did one red present and two green. This other set I did one green and two red. And then when I moved on to the third set of presents, because I always stamp extra, I'm going to give it more of a paper bag feel. So I brought in the red and the green to color in the ribbon, or I just used the red actually, to color in the ribbon. And then I'll use an E23 to give it kind of that homey, rustic, present type of feel. So that paper bag feeling, I guess, is the best way to describe it, or craft feeling. Now, I don't end up using most of those presents on my final card project. I'm only going to use the one present, but I did want to still show you the coloring that we don't always have to do a ton of shading when it comes to the images and your markers. The scarves, I had an idea that I wanted the panda bears to wear a scarf. All I did is dig through my stash. If you have a collection of lawn fawn stamps, just dig through them for the Santa hats or the presents. I just kind of landed on the first stamp set that I found that had the scarves and the presents. I was hoping it would work. They're actually going to be a little bit too big or too small, the scarves are going to be, but I still wanted to show you the coloring. I lined up the coordinating die for the images and ran it through the die cut machine, but since I'm using so many stamp sets and the Frosty Family and Frosty Family add-on, I started by die cutting just one set. So I think I started with the Frosty Family. I didn't die cut all of the scarves and hat at the same time because I was trying to keep myself a little organized and not get my scarves mixed matched on the wrong set. So I kind of went through first with one set, put those back where they belonged, then brought in the other set, lined those coordinating dies up, and die cut those out. Now, this particular panda bear had a die where I could just die cut out around his arm so he can hold something. So he's going to be holding a little present, which I thought would be super adorable. I have the rest of my bears that I'm bringing in, and I just wanted to kind of share with you some ideas here. I was playing around with the different Santa hats. Some of them, they might seem a little bit too big, but I think that is a super cute feature if the hat is maybe a little bit too big or a little bit too small. And that panda that is laying down is just the sweetest. You can see here where I was playing with the scarves, didn't quite work, which is fine. I think they're just really cute as is with the Santa hat. So I wanted to show that to you. I went ahead and I attached them with some liquid glue, just going at the very bottom of the hat. And these would be cute on a card front altogether. I'm going to end up only just using the one, the panda bear that is holding the present. But as I start playing with my card design, I will show you what the other bears are going to look like on the front of a card if you decide to do that. I'm going to start working on my actual snow globe. So I'm going to die cut the base from white cardstock and I'm going to die cut it twice. You can see this one has a little bit cut off because I was using the scratch paper. I don't need the top half. I'm going to use the die provided to cut a snowy hill. And this is going to line up right over my base piece. Then for the outline, I'm going to die cut it from some light brown wood grain cardstock, and I really only wanted the base piece, so I'm just going to use my scissors and trim off the rest of that outline. So that's going to line up down on the bottom of my snow globe, and I'll be able to ink blend around the outer edge of the top portion, which is why I trimmed that part off. Now, for the detail pieces on the bottom of the snow globe, I am using champagne metallic cardstock. It is a gorgeous color. Champagne in anything, whether it's embossing, foiling, anything is one of my favorites because it still has kind of a goldish kind of feeling to it, but it's not so yellow. These are the trees that die cut from the snow globe set. There is the base piece that I just die cut all of these out of white cardstock and I used a brown marker for the base, which is our tree trunk. And then for the trees, I am going to just color them with my Copic markers. So I am using G03, G09, and G28. So I colored them just like I would a stamp set. And if I wanted to add a little bit more contrast, I'll go over it a second time and those were just die cut out of 80-pound white cardstock. And it's nice and easy. I'm just using a piece of scratch paper to color that on so I don't get my work surface dirty. But if you have a glass work surface, you can wipe up the excess alcohol marker with rubbing alcohol. I'm using my liquid glue to attach the tree to the tree trunk to finish those off. And then I'm going to add some detailing to the rest of my snow globe. So for the base, I am using walnut ink and a small blending brush, and I'm just coming in from the sides and blending it in towards the center, just to kind of give that contrast on the outer edges. Then for my snowdrift, I am going to use merman ink once again, just with a small blending brush. And I'm really only going over the very top edge of my snowdrift. I don't need to go too far down. And then I'll bring in my base piece for the snow globe. Again, I'm going to come in with the merman ink. So this one, I'm going to come in a little bit further. I'm going to leave the center white. So it's going to leave kind of a glow in the center. And then around that very outer edge, I'm coming in with the fresh lavender. One of my favorite color combinations, especially during winter, is having purple overlapping with that kind of tealy color blue, and it just makes a gorgeous blend. Once I have my ink blending all done, I can start putting my snow globe together, starting with the base piece that has the snowdrift. That's going to go on first. So I added liquid glue to that and lined up the bottom piece and my rounded edges. And then I'll take the light brown cardstock, add liquid glue to the back of that, add that down at the bottom, making sure all of my edges match up. And then I'll bring in those detailed pieces that I die cut from the champagne metallic cardstock and adding my trimming to that. And again, I love that champagne metallic. Now that my snow globe is all assembled, I can start working on decorating. So I'm going to bring in my two trees and my little Santa panda that's holding the present. I'm adding liquid glue to the trees and tucking them into the background. And for my panda, I am going to add some foam squares behind it to pop it up a little bit. And I'll add that kind of over into this towards the center a little bit, but have him just kind of tucked over there by the trees. Now I'm going to die cut out a panel using this stripes and sprinkles paper. This is like the red and white stripes, and I use the small stitched rectangle stackables to do that. I have some die cut leaves that I used from the cute candy cane set, and I die cut them from algae cardstock. And I'm using my sticky mat in my stamp wheel to hold my dies in place while I add some Noble Fur ink blending to my leaves. Now I'm adding foam tape behind my stripes panel that I die cut out with that small stitched rectangle. So that's going to be popped up a little bit on the front of my card. This is an A2 size card front, so it is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Popping that up, and it's going to leave me a nice white border going around my pinstripes. Now, this is where I'm starting to show you some different ideas. My original idea was to have the sentiment at the top, my leaves tucked in, and then having the other pandas down towards the bottom. So I kind of play around with different layouts. The presents there I had tucked behind one of the pandas. I have that little bow there. I think that was from the cute candy canes. And again, I just wanted to show that to you because that's still something you could do with this set. There's a few different ideas I had. I went ahead and I attached my leaves because I knew I wanted to have the leaves kind of on the side behind the snow globe. That reminds me of a snow globe like on a fireplace mantle. So I thought that was super cute. But as I started playing with it, I just started feeling like the other pandas would almost be too much. I really wanted the snow globe to be the focal point, and I felt like that was starting to get hidden a little bit. But again, I really just wanted to show you how adorable these pandas look with this cute winter scene. So I had gone ahead, I added foam squares behind my snow globe and attached that to the front of the card. And the sentiment I'm using is going to be off of the Merry Mice stamp set. I made sure to always place that at the top, so I always had room for that. The bow, I really played around. I loved it at the top. I loved it in the middle. I really had a hard time deciding here what to do. And that's kind of where it came in that I was going to take the other two pandas out and I was going to split up my sentiment because I really loved that bow, which is die cut out of metallic red cardstock. I'm going to take the sentiment and I'm stamping them onto 80-pound white cardstock using black licorice ink. Again, this could be done so many different ways. You could heat emboss it in white onto either black cardstock or red cardstock. Red would have been really pretty. It would have matched the stripes in the background. But the red just didn't quite match for me with the red metallic, which is why I went with the white. So I went ahead off screen and I die cut those sentiments out using the Everyday Sentiment Banners die set. The one of them I did trim down to be just a little bit thinner, and I'm adding those to the front of the card with some foam squares. So that skinnier one is going to go towards the top, and then I have the one with the fishtail banner on each end going underneath the snow globe. And now I'm going to add some finishing touches. I'm going to start by coming in with a white gel pen. I'm adding those highlights to the Santa hat, to the trees, and then also to the holly leaves. But I'm going to bring in one more thing for the holly leaves because I really have been loving chunky glitter lately to kind of decorate and give my leaves a little bit of a frosty look. So I started out with a clear glaze pen going around some of the areas on my leaves, and then I'm sprinkling on the chunky glitter. I'm also going to add some to my trees to give it the look of snow, again with the chunky glitter and just having lots of pretty sparkle on the front of the card. And that is my finished card project. I love having that little panda bear in my snow globe. I think these pandas are going to be great for just so many different occasions, and you can pop them up with little party hats or Santa hats, anything like that. They're going to be good for year round. And I hope you also got some other ideas with the other layouts that I shared. Thank you all so much for joining me today.